Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's take up the daily quiz for today. Let's look at the first question. A law enacted by the Parliament can be repealed in which of the following ways? By passing an ordinance, by enacting another legislation to repeal the law, through a resolution adopted by the Lok Sabha. See, a law enacted by the Parliament can be repealed either by promulgating an ordinance or by enacting a law to repeal this law. So statements 1 and 2 are correct. So option C is the right answer. We have taken up this topic for discussion because yesterday Prime Minister Narendra Modi made an important announcement with regard to the contentious farm laws. The Prime Minister announced that the controversial farm laws passed last year, which has been currently stayed by the Supreme Court, shall be repealed by the government by keeping in mind the interests of the farmers. He also stated that these laws are going to be repealed in the upcoming winter session of the Parliament. So, the Indian Express carries an explained article which helps us understand the process for repealing a law. See, a law enacted by the Parliament can be repealed in two ways, either by promulgating an ordinance or through a legislation. Article 123 of the Constitution empowers the President of India to promulgate an ordinance which has the same effect as a law, and this is a special legislative power given to the President to bring out urgent and necessary laws through an ordinance when the Parliament is not in session. But of course, this is not a discretionary power of the President because the President would be bound by the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. So, to repeal a law when the Parliament is not in session, the President can promulgate an ordinance. Or the other option is to bring out a new law which can be enacted by the Parliament in order to repeal the previous laws. See, Article 245 of the Constitution provides legislative powers to the Parliament for making laws for the whole of India or to any part of India. Even the state legislatures draw their legislative powers from the same article. So, the article which gives the law-making powers to the Parliament can also be used to repeal a law. So, for repealing any law, the Parliament has to enact a new law, and such a law will have to be passed by both the houses of the Parliament, and it should receive the assent of the President. Now, let's look at the second question. India has funded which of the following projects in Sri Lanka? The Northern Housing Project, Jaffna Cultural Centre, Kanke Senturai Port Revival, Matala Airport, Palale Civilian Airport. Amongst the given options, India has funded all the projects except for the Matala Airport. The Matala Airport has been funded by China, whereas India has funded the rest of the projects given over here. So the correct answer is option D, 1, 2, 3, and 5 only. See, this map over here depicts the Indian and Chinese projects in Sri Lanka. India has taken up several important projects in Sri Lanka, such as the Northern Housing Project, through which India built around 50,000 houses for the internally displaced people, that is, for the Tamil minorities who were displaced during the ethnic war of Sri Lanka. Then, over here in the Jaffna Peninsula, India has taken up the revival of Kanke Senturai Port, and India has also rebuilt the Northern Railway track and the Palale Civilian Airport. These key infrastructure projects in the Jaffna Peninsula were damaged by the 2004 tsunami and as well as by the civil war in the country. Then India has also funded a thermal power plant at Sampur, and now India is all set to inaugurate a new project in the Jaffna region. India has funded the construction of the Jaffna Cultural Centre, but the project is yet to be inaugurated even though it was completed nearly 2 years ago. This map also depicts the important strategic projects of China, which includes the Hambantota Port Project, which is a part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. You can also see the Matala Airport over here. And apart from that, China has taken up the construction of the Colombo Port Project and a communication tower known as Lotus Tower and a coal power plant at Naratcholai. This essentially depicts the strategic competition between India and China as they both compete to gain influence in Sri Lanka. Now let's look at the third question. Hamas is an extremist group operating in Syria, Yemen, Gaza Strip, Iraq. The correct answer is option C. Hamas is an extremist organization operating in the Gaza Strip of Palestine. This topic is in news because, according to this article in The Hindu, the United Kingdom is making a move to ban Hamas as a terrorist organization. See, Hamas is a radical extremist outfit operating in the Gaza Strip of Palestine, and it seeks to liberate the Palestinian areas from Israeli occupation. Hamas has a political wing and as well as a military wing, and its military wing in particular, known as the Al Qassam Brigade, is known for launching deadly rocket attacks against Israel as a part of its fight to liberate Palestine. So, because of its violent extremist activities, several countries have declared Hamas, especially the military wing of Hamas, as a terrorist outfit. Countries like US, Israel, and the others have already declared both the political and military wing of Hamas as terrorist outfits. But there are other countries which do not see Hamas as a terrorist organization. Countries like Qatar, Turkey, and even China, they see Hamas as a national liberation movement, and they're also known to extend diplomatic and financial support to the outfit. But the United Kingdom, on the other hand, had only banned the military wing of Hamas, that is the Al Qassam Brigade. But now, the UK is looking to align its policy with the US and as well as with the European Union, and it is likely to brand the entire organization as a terrorist organization. Now let's look at the fourth question. Which of the following statements are correct? The Real Estate Regulation and Development Act 2016 is an act of the Parliament which seeks to protect home buyers as well as help boost investments in the real estate industry. It establishes a Real Estate Regulatory Authority, or RERA, in each state for regulation of the real estate sector and also acts as an adjudicating body for speedy dispute resolution. It was introduced because the Consumer Protection Act of 1986 was inadequate to address the needs of home buyers. All the three given statements are correct, so option D is the right answer. See, this question was taken up because, according to this article in the Indian Express, the Supreme Court has recently delivered a verdict on the RERA Act, which benefits home buyers. The Supreme Court has ruled that in case builders and developers don't deliver on their promises to home buyers, then the amount invested by the allottees, along with interest as determined by the regulatory authority, can be recovered from the builders and developers as arrears on their land revenue. This, along with few other interpretations of the RERA Act provided by the Supreme Court, is set to benefit the home buyers as it seeks to protect their interests if they are violated by the builders and developers. See, the real estate sector was largely unregulated prior to 2016. So, to protect the interests of home buyers and as well as to bring investments into the real estate sector, the government introduced the RERA Act, which mandates each state to establish a RERA to regulate the real estate industry and also to act as an adjudicating body for speedy dispute resolution. Now let's look at a practice question from the 2019 prelims paper. Consider the following pairs. On the left, we have a list of famous places. On the right, a list of rivers has been provided which might be flowing next to these places. So we need to check whether these are correctly matched. Pandharpur has been matched with Chandrabhaga, Tiruchirappalli has been matched with Kaveri, Hampi has been matched with Malaprabha. Amongst the given pairs, the third pair is incorrectly matched, so the right answer is option A, 1 and 2 only. See, all the three places given over here are famous pilgrimage places, and Pandharpur in Maharashtra is located on the banks of the Bhima river, which is also referred to as the Chandrabhaga because at Pandharpur, the Bhima river resembles the shape of the moon. Then Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu is located on the banks of the Kaveri river, whereas Hampi in Karnataka is located on the banks of the Tungabhadra river and not the Malaprabha. So this makes the third pair incorrect, and hence option A is the right answer. Now let's look at the fact of the day. The Hindu carries an image of the Rashtrapati Bhavan which has been illuminated to express support to child rights on the eve of World Children's Day, which is marked on the 20th of November every year. This is a landmark day with regard to child rights because it was on this day that the Declaration of Rights of Child and the UN Convention on the Rights of Child were adopted. See, the Declaration of the Rights of the Child, also known as the Geneva Declaration of the Rights of the Child, was first drafted by a child rights activist, Eglantine Jebb. She was deeply concerned about the plight of children during the First World War, and hence, to protect children, she came out with a list of child rights. This was later adopted by the League of Nations in 1924, which was later adopted by the UN as well in 1959 in its extended form. This Declaration of the Rights of the Child was adopted on the 20th of November, and hence the day is marked as the World Children's Day. This declaration recognizes basic child rights, such as the right for normal development, both materially and spiritually, the health, hunger, and nutrition rights of the child, the right of a child to receive relief in times of distress, protection of the child against exploitation, especially against child labor, and for the safe and healthy upbringing of the child. These rights were later incorporated into the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1989, which was also adopted on the 20th of November. This is an international human rights treaty which recognizes the civil, political, economic, social, health, and cultural rights of children. The convention defines children as those human beings under the age of 18, and the convention becomes legally binding as per international law on those countries which have ratified the convention. The provisions of this convention is enforced upon the ratifying states by the UN Committee on the Rights of Child, which is responsible for supervising the implementation of the child rights that are guaranteed by the convention. The ratifying states are also required to report the progress they are making and the measures they have taken to protect child rights in their country. India ratified this UN Convention in 1992 and has put in place adequate legal provisions and policies to protect the rights of children. This convention and the rights enshrined under it are based on Eglantine Jebb's belief that children around the world should not be made to suffer at any cost, and they should be provided a healthy, happy, and safe environment to grow in, and they should be nurtured physically, mentally, and as well as emotionally. So these beliefs find a reflection in the convention as well, and hence it is argued that child rights go beyond the normal definition of human rights because children who are under the age of 18 are a vulnerable community, and it has to be ensured that their unique needs are met in a fair manner around the world. So, based on this principle, the UN Convention recognizes the following child rights. This includes the right to identity, the right to health, right to education, right to a family life, right to be protected from violence, right to an opinion, right to be protected from armed conflict, and the right to be protected from exploitation. Now, I want you to take up an exercise and read a little more about these rights that are provided through the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. So, with this, we conclude our discussion for today. Thanks for watching.